It is Karie Carico with Carico Real Estate, and we are here today with the ladies from Cultured Canine. We get to spend a little bit more time with them. I'm super grateful that they are willing to spend some time with us because the last time we chatted, we didn't get to go over all the questions people have submitted to me about problems they've had with their dogs, just like, common issues. And I wanted to be able to share these with you guys to see, if you had any good suggestions to help everybody. I know you guys have a lot of good training and as well, but just how are you guys doing today?
We're doing pretty
Yeah,
good.
Good, 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 good. And how's your dog doing?
she's good. She's
Good,
good. She's got her last epidural, so we hopefully are in the clear with her back issues from here on
good.
out.
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I saw you had posted something on Facebook, and so I want to see how she was doing because it's I know back pain's horrible, and oh, for a dog, that's miserable.
Yep.
Yeah, especially with how active she is.
Yep. And it prohibits her working, so we're
Yeah.
glad to be back on track.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, that stops you kind of too. So
100%.
yeah. So it'd be good, if you both could work for sure.
Yeah.
I know Lumberton needs you.
Always.
I always just remember your stories about Lumberton and it like trips.
Yeah. We actually had a search there today. I didn't
Oh,
go, but yeah, we had one of our team members out there today.
yeah. Probably finding extra bodies, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's so freaky. Every time I think about that. Well, let's just jump right into the questions because I want to make sure that we get all the questions like, somewhat answered. But let's hop into one of them. One of the first questions that I got from John was, what are the most common behavioral issues you see in dogs, and how do you typically approach things like reactivity, barking, lunging, or growling at people or other animals?
So I would say it's lack of socialization,
Yeah.
especially post-COVID. So usually lack of socialization leads to the barking, the growling, the lunging, just dogs that are not comfortable in their own skin. And so the best way to do it is one, make sure all of your dog's needs are met. So
Yeah.
like exercise, make sure they're fulfilled. Keep in mind the breed that you have gotten or the mix of breeds that you've gotten and
Yeah.
make sure that you're doing something biologically fulfilling for those breeds.
Yeah.
So if it's a Australian Shepherd, they like to herd. If it's a Malinois, they like to bite. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're fulfilling them in like a positive way. So those are your first things that you need to make sure you're doing.
Yeah.
And then I would say the next thing is you need to expose your dog and advocate for your dog. Don't just like flood them and throw them into the deep end.
Yeah.
You want to associate if they like treats or toys, you want to associate the scary things with treats or toys after the scary thing happens, just to kind of socialize them and get them used to things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's just the dog's personalities because Ellie's pretty socialized and she still doesn't like people or really, she
Ex-
likes some people, but
Exactly. Yep. And you have to advocate for her in those,
yeah.
when you understand that, hey, this might just be my dog's personality and they don't love people in their face or touching their feet or stuff like that, then yeah, we can work on it. But to what extent do you want to kind of like pressure the dog into doing something that it's just not, loving?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like, yeah, like I know, I mean, I've learned, I mean, sometimes it's just their personality. She's a little bit of an introvert, so you know.
Yep.
So I get that completely. Well, let's go on to another question. So, some dogs have strong prey driven. They're prey driven, and can get easily distracted by like squirrels or birds or other animals. How do you focus like training or calm behavior in these cases? Is maybe this happens a
Yeah,
lot.
so sometimes like you can start with because like most people are like, I want to take my dog for a walk, but every time it sees a squirrel, it wants to go chase a squirrel. Every time I ask it to sit and it sees a chicken run across, that was one of my lessons yesterday is we were
Oh,
working on recall with dogs that like to go chase chickens.
yeah,
Uh, and so we start like working on the command, the behavior that you might want first, and
mhm,
low distraction, very neutral environment, building from that. But also, we can reward the dog when it sees the things and chooses not to go after them.
yeah,
So if it chooses to say, I've got my dog in a heel and it sees the squirrel run across the road, or I see the squirrel, we see it kind of at the same time. I can go and give my dog this big reward. Maybe my dog loves to tug on toys, or like Anicia's dog Dahlia loves her wubba. So I can say, here's this big time reward because you
Yeah.
saw the thing, and now I'm even more enticing or more exciting than going to chase that squirrel.
Yep. There's a saying that I got from some type of seminar that you have to be sexier than a squirrel.
Yeah.
You have to make yourself more valuable and more exciting and more fun than chasing the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not
Definitely.
just when the other thing happens. Like you have
Yeah.
to build that up when there's nothing else going on too.
Yeah.
And then it will hold value or have weight, when you see the distracting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I know with Ellie, it's food. Food, cookies.
A morsel
Great.
of food. She would
Yes.
jump off for a morsel of food.
Yeah.
She will do anything because I've taught her this thing. And Chad's like, how did you teach her? Because Ellie. And so, because I don't want to like push her into her, her crate, but I'm like, if I have her go out to the bathroom, I've been really working on her going by herself without like a leash or anything, because you know how Ellie's personality is. And so I'll make her go, and then she knows that she has to get in her bed and eat her treat, her crate and eat her treat. And so literally we've got this like
Whole
because
routine.
yeah. And he's like, how do you get her to do this? Like, because I've been working with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does things for you, that she
Yeah.
will do for me too.
Exactly. Like most things. Yeah.
Most things.
Which is, I feel bad for him, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's go into another one, which I know is a really common one. And this one is from Christina. It's separation anxiety is a big concern for many dog owners. What signs should they look for, and how can training help ease a dog's anxiety when left alone? And do you guys work on this?
Yeah, so I think that separation anxiety is kind of like this big blanket term.
Yeah.
Most dogs don't necessarily have like separation anxiety. Sometimes they're just kind of spoiled. Sometimes, rarely do we see a dog that has like severe distress when left alone. Occasionally we do, but maybe once a year. But now I would say most dogs are just anxious in general.
Yeah.
And they're used to spending, 99% of their time with their human.
Yeah.
So those are dogs that, their owners work from home, they take them everywhere, and we love that. However, it's so important to teach your dogs to be left alone and that the world doesn't revolve around them 24/7 from the get-go. So if you adopt a dog, if you raise a puppy, you want to make sure, one, we love crate training.
Yep.
Because then you can safely leave the dog. And if you have an emergency, the dog's contained so they're not destroying things, because sometimes they destroy things out of boredom and not necessarily separation anxiety. And sometimes it's separation anxiety, but rarely do we actually see that being the true cause. So we want to make sure we're crate training. Not necessarily that every dog needs to be crated when the owners leave, but I think it's a skill set that is valuable for every dog to have, whether you're using it every day or not. So my personal dog, Dahlia, that we were talking about, is currently in the house roaming around with the cats. But can I just stick her in a crate if I need to? Yes. So keeping that skill set up is important. We also do this thing called tethering. And basically what tethering is we hook a leash, a non-bungee leash, a short 5-6 foot leash, to something stationary. That could be a door, that could be a windowsill, that could be a couch, something. And we just kind of leave the dog there while we're like cleaning and cooking and moving around. So the dog can't physically follow us from room to room.
Yeah.
And this teaches them like, hey, I'm going to walk out of the room. You're going to feel a little bit of restraint. You're going to be fine. And we just kind of ignore them and we kind of go about our day. We only leave them for about an hour. So we're kind of watching them, but we're not talking to them or building up the basically need to be, entertained. So most of the time we see dogs that are not necessarily super distressed when the owners leave. They're just kind of, hey, give me attention. And just because they're used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, and place is so good. You guys talk. Ellie, that's like the best thing in the world, because just leave her there and she has to just chill.
Definitely. And place is so awesome because you can take that anywhere. You
Yeah.
can take it to the beach. You can take it to, outside. You can do all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and she knows what she can do. She can do whatever she wants, but she knows she has to stay there, which
Yeah,
is good.
exactly. And you can give her something to do.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, which we do. And she likes it. So that's a good thing too. So yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, that's definitely helpful. And you know what? You were saying that it's not like super common. I would agree because I remember I have a few friends. I had one friend that I was like, oh yeah, that dog has separation anxiety, so like severe. Because I think when they would leave it, well, they didn't, I don't think they created it, but it ate like all the window seals and
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
sometimes when you see like a dog with true separation, like distress,
Yeah.
they're they usually they usually eat the window or the door in which would lead to like a view of the owner. So wherever
Yeah.
the owner walked out of. So
Yeah.
normally if the dog just chews like the couch up, we're like, okay, well that dog's probably just bored.
Yeah.
Because the couch doesn't necessarily have an association with the
Yeah.
owner like leaving. So the events are not normally paired. But now if the dog's eating like the window or the door frame of the
Yeah.
door that the owner wants to walk out of, that's usually a little bit more common. Some other things that owners can do is every time they can just, leash the dog, pass the leash off to somebody else, walk out of sight for 3, 5 minutes. Whenever the dog's calm and kind of just forgotten that the owner had walked out of sight, then walk back into sight. And if the dog's freaking out and being really excited, we're not going to progress closer to the
Yeah.
dog. We're going to pause. We're going to let the dog collect itself. And then whenever the dog's calm, we're going to go forward. Your movement and progression towards the dog is reinforcement. So keep that in mind when you're working on this stuff. If you just walk out of sight and the dog's screaming the whole time and then you walk back
Yeah.
and the dog didn't stop barking, the behavior's only going to get worse. But if you
Yeah.
wait for them to get calm and then inch closer as they're calm, the behavior's going to get better.
Yeah, for sure. I know that from learning that from you guys with Ellie, for sure. Yeah. Definitely. Because yeah, she's Ellie. So okay. So we'll go into another question. Let's see. So how do you help dogs that are nervous, fearful? And we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think this is a little bit different. That or reactive when meeting new people or animals. And what's the right way to introduce them that's a little less stressful?
So like when we get a new dog in that maybe it has a big bubble when it comes to meeting new people,
Yeah.
typically those dogs are labeled like an Anisi and I only dog.
Yeah.
And so I like to teach the dogs from the beginning. I'm not gonna like pressure them or push myself on them. So like if they're very nervous for love and affection from strangers, why would I give it love and affection? Like we're not gonna do that. We're gonna say, okay, well, let's come out of your crate. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a potty walk. You just exist around me. I exist around you. Maybe using some like umbilical tethering, tying the dog to your body. So it's just kind of hanging out with you as you're doing things, but I'm ignoring the dog.
Yeah.
And maybe I drop some treats on the floor. Maybe I let them take it from my hand if they want to. If it's coming to like, I have a dog that's very nervous or fearful of people, and maybe I'm out in public, or maybe I have someone coming over to my house just because another person might say like, oh, I'm great with dogs, or all dogs love me. Well, it doesn't mean my dog wants affection from you. And
Yeah.
majority of the time for like my personal dog, I have one dog who um just really doesn't like affection from strangers. He just doesn't. He's a bite risk. He just doesn't like it. It is not his cup of tea. I
Yeah.
don't let strangers touch him. The only time I let strangers touch him is when he needs medical attention from the vet, and that is it. And it's a very structured time. But other than that, he doesn't need love and affection from other people. He doesn't need to be touched by anyone. And so I want him to that specific point, or we want those dogs to the specific point that I could take them out, or they could be taken out to the park, or taken into public, taken out to Lowe's, and they're calm, they're respectful, they're, not being jerks or anything like that,
Yeah.
barking, lunging, biting. But if someone wants to advance up to me and, oh, I love your dog, maybe it's a golden retriever like Ellie. Oh, I love your dog. I love
Yeah.
Goldens. Can I pet them? It's my job as an advocate for my dog to sit there and go, no, you cannot touch my dog. They don't like people. I'm super
Yeah.
sorry. And so get those nervous dogs to the specific point to where they can exist around people, but they don't always have to be touched by people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's something I've had to learn with Elle is because like I had a little girl that came and she wanted, and I was like, because it's a little girl, she wants to touch the dog. And I was like, okay. So I tried to calmly do it. And Ellie was okay, but she's just not a people person. I mean, she likes certain people, like she likes you guys.
Mhm.
But she has to get to know you. I mean, she's
Yeah.
not super friendly. So I get that. A lot of it's just I feel like after working with you guys so long, it's just their personality. I mean, because they're all
It's just
like
like
people.
there's some people who are like big huggers, and then
Yeah.
there's some people that are like, please don't hug me at all. Like, I don't even care if my family hugs me that much. I just don't like physical affection.
Yeah.
And so if you went up to a person and is like, oh, this is my second time meeting you. Can I give you a big hug? And they said no, you wouldn't force yourself on them. So why would we do that to our dogs? Like it's not
Exactly.
very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I feel like with people, they have their bubble. And like, I feel like with dogs, I mean, after dealing with Ellie, because I mean, I've never had a dog so unique as her with her personality. My other dogs were not that antisocial. But yeah, I mean, I'm learning. I mean, she's got her little bubble and her just like a person. So
Yep.
I agree
Yep,
with you. They're just little they have in different personalities, so for
that's
sure,
right.
yeah, definitely, I agree. Okay, so we got another question from Christina, and it's about dogs barking at TVs. And I know a lot of people think it's funny. This is what her question was, but it can be super disruptive. What causes this kind of screen reactivity, and how can it be trained out?
Yeah, so it just kind of depends on the dog and why they're doing it. Because
Yeah,
some dogs are doing it out of boredom.
yeah,
So, and some dogs are doing it out of lack of socialization. So it just kind of depends. Now, if it's like prey drive and it's, you know, they're going after the TV, you see the videos on the internet of the dogs like
yeah.
knocking the TVs over and just breaking them. You can definitely do some tethering. So what we were talking about there and in the same room. You there's corrective things that you can do. So you can teach the dog a correction word. This is hey, don't do that. Most people use no. We don't use no, we use nay. And you can, shake a can of pennies or spray them with a spray bottle of water. So there's things that you can do to correct it. But it's also very important to one, make sure your dog's needs are like met and fulfilled because they're less likely to do that if they're not bored.
Yeah.
Okay. To the other thing that we do here, because this kind of goes together, is we do a lot of tethering or place time, and then we put on our TV just like desensitization sounds. And so we'll go on YouTube and we'll just do, a 2 hour loop and we'll put our headphones in and kind of go on about our business just so the dogs can hear doorbell sounds, dogs barking in the background, construction sounds, storms, fireworks. YouTube has all of that. And literally, we just put it on a loop here. And what happens is the first 15 minutes, the dogs just freak out.
Yeah.
And then go bark. And we have our headphones in. We don't even correct it because they do need to like get through some of their feelings, right? And
Yeah.
then about 15 minutes of just straight barking, they're like, I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Yeah.
And so that's how we usually train it out. And because normally it's like they're kitten sounds, dog sounds. Usually dogs are barking at the TV because of a strange noise, usually another dog on the TV. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, we just put on the TV, just dog desensitization sounds on YouTube, and we'll play it for several hours. We'll make sure that the dog is just in the room and we kind of go on about our business. They'll
Mhm.
stop barking after a while. And what happens is they just get desensitized to it and they just stop. So
Yeah.
we don't even correct it here usually. We just
Yeah.
let them work through it on their own. And then what happens is then they're like, oh, this is no big deal because I hear it all the
Yeah.
time. But it's not one of those things where you can just play once and then be done with it, like once a day and go on about your business. And they usually do great with that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, they might just be bored too. I mean, like,
Mhm.
or get bored with it, because it's not so exciting
That's
after.
yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so we'll move on to another question. What are your top tips for everyday obedience? Like things like leash walking, jumping on guests, or barking at the door.
Oh, this one's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot. I mean, like a lot. I guess for me, some of my biggest things, you need to practice. It's not just practicing every day, it's trying to you want to work it in your everyday life. So if I want my dog, for example, not to jump on people, then it kind of starts with me as well. If I let
Yeah.
my dog jump all over me, why would I expect my dog not to jump on another person? So it starts with me. And every time that I give my dog affection, I need to show them the picture that I want long term. So if
Yeah.
that picture would be like for Ellie, we taught her sit politely or how to sit for affection.
Yes.
I teach my dog that starting with me. And then we
Yeah.
build from there.
Yeah.
Same thing with our other commands is here's your picture, here's what we work on. And then some things, if it were like healing or a sit command, down command, where I'm focusing on my dog and I'm asking a lot of them, I'm
Yeah.
keeping my training time, my durations, my reps very short and minimal. Anytime people get excited and they're like, oh, my dog did a super, super awesome rep. They're doing super
Yeah.
great with that. I'm going to do it one more time. We say cap it. Don't do one more time. There is no more one more time. If you try again, it's most likely going to fail. And then we've taught the dog a bad rep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I got a few.
yeah.
Okay.
One, mean what you say.
Yeah.
So if you tell the dog to sit and it lays down, that's not okay. If you
No.
want them to sit and
Yep.
they sit, that then you reward the sit,
Yep.
but not the down.
Yes.
So just being super clear in your communication with your dog is so important. So if you tell them to sit and they lay down, you'll be like, nope, that's not it, and then put them back into a sit. And so just reinforcing things and making them do it if you've told them to do it.
Mhm.
Just like the no jumping thing. If they jump and then they sit, then what happens is then you pet the sit. And what the most for me, the common misconception with most of our clients is, well, they stopped doing the thing that I didn't want them to do, so I'm going to reinforce that. But the
Yeah.
problem is that you've chained in the behavior. So if it
Yep.
was jumping, they got corrected and then they sat, and then you gave love because in your mind you're giving love to the sit. Problem is you're really giving love to the jump and the correction and then the sit. So they're all together. So your dog will think, hey, I need to complete the sequence of jumping and
Yeah.
then get the correction. And they're so smart, but it's so important. So if they jump on you and you correct them, then ignore them for 2 minutes, five
Yep.
minutes, and then ask them to sit politely after that. So I would say definitely like being super consistent. If you've asked your dog to do something, like make sure you follow it through.
Yep.
The other thing that I would say is making sure the commands that you want to have a finish or a start and a stop on, they actually have meaning to your dog. So what I mean by that is like with us, we teach our dogs like a healing command. So they get into a heel position, and then whenever they're allowed to just kind of be at liberty and do whatever they want, they have a break. And so I'm not going to release my dog when my dog's dragging me, because they weren't, they're supposed to be in a heel, but they're like not actually healing. I'm not going to
Yeah.
release my dog at the moment. I'm going to make sure they're healing for a couple good steps and then break them and let them do whatever they want. So start and stop so the dog doesn't just think, well, I don't really know when I'm allowed to leave this position, like sit
Yeah.
or down or place or heel. I don't know when else to leave this position, so I'm just going to walk out of it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
consistency and making sure the dog understands communication of like a start and a stop for commands.
Perfect. Yeah, that's so true. And also sitting and waiting for your food and not jumping on the counter. Like Chad and I disagree because he lets her jump on the counter and I make her sit the whole time I'm getting her food. So
Yeah. And that goes back to like difference in expectations, like what Alyssa
yeah,
was talking about. It's like we can't expect the dog to understand necessarily who they can get away with certain things
yes,
from. So it's so much easier when the dog thinks that we're all on the same page.
Yep.
I agree. I agree. And we are not on that same page with food.
You just told on Chad.
Yeah, I make her sit and wait the whole time. And yeah, and he does not. I get that completely. Okay, we'll move on to another question. For new dog owners, especially those with puppies, what should you prioritize the first few weeks at home to set the tone for good behavior? Because I know puppies are a big deal, and you guys have a great puppy program.
I love exposure training. Some people call it socialization. Socialization, I don't really care about the dog always meeting people and always meeting other dogs. It's more or less exposure.
Yeah,
But it's not just at home.
yeah,
And so a lot of people get a brand new puppy, and there's some confliction between like your vet saying, don't you dare ever take your puppy out until it's gotten its last round of vaccines at 16 weeks old.
yeah,
But usually that closes the window for prime learning time as a young puppy. And if all they know is at home and maybe you have a relatively quiet house, maybe you
Yeah.
don't have kids, maybe it's just you living by yourself, that's all your dog sees during its prime learning time as a puppy. So
Yeah.
taking them out places and exposing them. Don't take them to the dog park, but I can take them to a park. We can sit on a bench. They can sit on the bench next to me. They can watch people go by. They can watch skateboards and bicycles. They can hear cars behind them. They can see dogs.
Yeah.
If you have friends that have dogs that are completely vaccinated and are very, very neutral or well-behaved dogs. So like I wouldn't put a brand new puppy with a dog that likes to do some WWE wrestling. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to do that. But if they have relatively calm dog then and they're completely vaccinated, then maybe getting them together from some small interactions here and there, meeting people, but setting that up right from the beginning on what you want that dog to do later in life. So if your dog is going to be 80 pounds, I wouldn't let my 5 pound puppy jump on you now, because then
Yeah.
my 80-pound dog is going to jump on you. So I'm going to start showing the dog the picture of what I want some of these interactions to look like from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
But getting them out, exposing them to sights, sounds, smells, all the things, it's going to help with a lot of that nervous behavior, maybe some reactivity later. That's my number one.
Yeah. I totally agree with that too. Okay, so the next question kind of like goes along with that question. So
Mhm.
how important, I mean, we know that socialization is super important. What if they missed out on that window? What do you do?
You can still kind of do that same thing. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to look different because the dog, if we've missed that, then maybe they are scared of the sounds. They are scared of seeing the bicycles. They're
Yeah.
scared of existing in those places that they've never been before. But I can
Yeah.
still do the same things.
Yeah.
Still, if the bike goes by, I can still reward my dog for seeing the bike. Now I wouldn't reward my dog if it freaked out and jumped in my lap and is very, very scared. I'd put my dog back down on the ground and be like, no, you can watch the bike go by again. Like, just
Yeah.
you deal with that. But you can still do those same things. It's just going to look a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with you and with that. Definitely. I mean, just having multiple dogs that they're all different. And I feel like Ellie, well, she's just Ellie. So she was socialized. She just didn't want to be.
True.
So she was, when she went to that little puppy school, the little thing. Oh, yeah, that was bad. So she wasn't a real huge fan of the classmates with her.
And
She
some of
had,
it's personality too. You get
yep,
some dogs, especially now we're seeing, or I've seen a lot more dogs coming, as soon as they're born, having a little bit more issues than dogs we might have been seeing 10, 20 years ago.
yeah,
Or as like some people will bring us dogs and they're like, well, I've had dogs for 50 years.
yeah,
My last two dogs are nothing like the 15 other dogs I had throughout my life. Well,
yeah,
they've evolved. Things are different now. There's a lot more people breeding dogs that are just going, oh, your dog looks cute and my dog looks cute. Before we
yeah,
fix them, let's have a litter of puppies. And that's creating a lot of like mental instability in the dogs. And so we're seeing young puppies with more nerve issues, more reactivity issues, even before or during that kind of prime window. They're just born like that. So some of it's going to be there are some cases where it's personality. We can
yeah,
still do a lot of the same things, but I would say if someone is seeing that for a very young puppy, if you've got a 10-week-old puppy and it's trying to like you think it's aggressively attacking things,
yeah,
please consult a trainer.
yeah,
100%.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I've seen that. I have totally seen that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with Ellie, but but
Yep.
yeah, I've seen that. Definitely. Okay. So we got a couple more questions and then I'll let you guys go because I know you're super busy. So, are there any breed related behaviors that people misunderstand or overlook? Like, how do you tailor training based on the dog's background or DNA or like just the type of dog? Do you train dogs differently with?
Yeah, we totally do. So like
Okay.
example is a border collie.
Yeah.
It's a great example because they're very out there, they're very extreme. And what I mean by that is like super smart, can learn anything. They tend to be very soft and sensitive. So You're having to be smarter than the dog, but
Yeah.
also just make sure you're not being, too much even spatial pressure, just like getting too close to them could be a huge correction for that dog. So you definitely are not raising your voice with that dog. Like you might have to be like, hello with your Goldens, and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
but with your Border Collie, you may not. But also I think that like their style of play and learning all differs depending on one, individual, super important, but two, breed. So, I'm not gonna be able to play and to play is to learn too. So keep that in mind. I'm not gonna be able to play the same way with a golden retriever as I can with a Malinois.
Yeah.
If I played like that with a Malinois, I'm going to get bit.
Yeah.
So, but I can play really rough with a golden, and they're like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever!" So I can get them to do maybe a sit or a down stay, and I can release them, and I can throw their ball, and they're like, "Oh, this is great." But then I could do the same thing with the Malinois, and then go to release them, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't throw my ball fast enough," and they're gonna bite you. So we definitely have to tailor one, the dog that we're working with in our training, but definitely the training to the breeds that we're working with.
Yeah. Yeah. That when I read that question, it was so funny because you were your dog was my first thought. And I'm like, yeah, can't play the same with Ellie as
All of my dogs will just bite you.
yeah, I was like, just
that.
totally different dogs. I mean, I love your dog, but yeah, but I can imagine not playing the same exact way as we play
Definitely
with
not.
Elle. Because
Yeah, and training is different too.
yeah,
Training is definitely different because and every dog's a little bit different, but certain amount of reps for my dog may be able to like Alyssa was saying, like your training sessions need to be short.
yeah.
My Malinois typically can last in terms of training session like 30 minutes to an hour. That is not normal. Like
No.
so I could do reps and reps and reps and reps and reps, and she's like, okay, let's go, let's go. The motivation is there because I built that up from a very young age and just
Yeah.
personality and genetics. But then we get some of these dogs in, and we can only do a 30-second session with
Wow.
them each time. And then, by the end of their time here, they can do 5 minutes, but that's still nothing in comparison to a dog with different genetics.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Okay, so we got one other question, and then I'm just and I promise I won't keep you guys much longer. So, what's one piece of advice you wish every dog owner knew when it comes to building a better bond and behavior with their pets?
I think for me is stop putting a lot of your emotions into the dogs.
Yeah,
Some people see the dogs, and this goes into a lot of things, and maybe it can tie back to earlier when we were talking about separation anxiety,
yeah,
is they hear their dog, you put it in the crate and you leave for work, you shut the door behind you, and your dog is whining. And so you come back inside and you pull your dog out and you give it big loves and cuddles. You're like, I'm so sorry, sweet Fido. I cannot believe I left you, but it's okay. And you're trying to talk them through, and then you put them back. Well, all we're doing is putting our emotions into it, reinforcing the behavior we don't want, and teaching them that's how we need to continue being.
yeah,
Dogs don't have the same emotions we do in the same capacity. They just don't have that. And when we constantly put our human emotions into the dog, it builds it in a negative way. It makes it harder for the dog to understand how they're supposed to act, what they're supposed to do. We give them a lot of mixed signals. So you coming in thinking that you're just reassuring them because they might be whining or barking because you just left. You think you're reassuring them that you're going to come back. Really, you're just reinforcing the behavior we don't want.
yeah,
I think for me, it's definitely they're animals.
yeah,
And people don't realize like their behavior. Yeah, we're talking about genetics and stuff like that, but like their behavior is often a reflection of what we've put into them. And so just like Chad with Ellie jumping on the counter, like she's going to do that if we like allow it, right?
yeah,
So I think it's very important to understand like, most of the times the dog's not doing a bad behavior.
yeah,
The dog is doing a dog behavior.
yeah,
And that's so important to understand because like they don't understand good or bad. They
yeah,
understand what you reinforce and what you correct.
yeah,
And so allowing them one to like sometimes just be a dog. So we have different ends of the spectrum where we have clients that are like too lenient and you're like, no, like your dog's going to hurt you or somebody else or itself. Like we have to be more structured and like tailoring what the dog needs. And then on the opposite end, we have we have clients that come in and they're too structured. I'm like,
Yeah.
let the dog breathe a little. Like, you're micromanaging way too much. You're not allowing them to be a dog. And so I don't blame them for not like wanting to be in tune with you or like checking out because you're micromanaging. Like, if you did that to me, I'd be annoyed too.
Yeah.
So it's so important to one understand that they're just dogs and just to let them be dogs and they do dog behaviors and doesn't mean that they're bad. Like, I remember when I know some of our clients, like when they're first starting out with a really reactive dog, they're super embarrassed to go out in public with
Yeah.
that dog. But that's how you work on things. And so I'm like, why just throw some headphones in? The dog barks this morning and be like, I'm sorry, we're in training. Like once you get past that and understand that the dog is just doing a dog behavior and we're just trying to kind of rewire their brain and
Yeah.
work together, like your feelings towards the dog and your relationship with the dog will grow so much.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. Dealing with Ellie for sure. So yeah, definitely for sure about that. Yeah. Ellie's been so fun.
We're gonna pick your next dog, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need help with that. Poor Elle. I love her. She's great. She's so attached to me, but that's okay. Drives Chad up the wall.
I know it does.
Oh, well, it's okay. I am allowed to have one that really likes me. So we'll just say that. Okay, so I just want to let everyone know all the different programs you have because I know Ellie went through your boot camp. What other programs do you have? Just if you want to let us know really quick, like a little, so I can let you guys go. But I know you have a puppy boot camp, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we have puppy inboard, so like under 6 months, and then we have our adult inboard, which is over 6 months.
Mhm.
And we have various programs in that, like on leash or off leash.
Okay.
We have like board and trains, and that's for like a specific amount of time. If you're already going out of town for a week and your dog has to be boarded anyway, you might as well get some training during that time.
Yeah.
We have regular boarding, daycare and train, private sessions.
Okay.
Am I missing anything?
No, I think it's it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I wanted to let everyone know because I know I have given your information out to a lot of people because of, trying to work with Ellie and you guys did such a great job. So I wanted to make sure that like we kind of went over that in this interview so that everyone again could kind of just know a little bit because last time we chatted, we didn't get to kind of go over all this stuff. So I want to make sure we went over that. But also all your information will be below in the comments. So, and also you can DM me or text me or call me and I can get you guys hooked up with the ladies from Cultured Canine as well because they do an amazing job. But ladies, I really appreciate all the time you guys have given to us and you've been able to answer all of our questions because I've had these questions now for a while since our last time we chatted and I wanted to make sure we went over them so that, we could answer them all and help everybody with their dogs. So,
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for having us.
you.
yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and you'll get to see Ellie soon again and maybe help with the bad behavior, maybe
Refresh. Yeah.
jumping on the counter while we eat because I make her sit and wait, but that's me. We are different. Well, thank you guys, and I will talk with you guys soon. But thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you,
You too.
Karie.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.